All right. Welcome back to Father Time with Mike Montez. I am yours truly, Mike Montez. And with me again, I have a fan favorite, Mr. Jay Mclovin. Jay, how are you doing this evening, my friend?
Man, I'm good. I'm good. Honestly, it's been an interesting couple of days, but I'm a sports guy, so it's been really interesting couple of days. But no, man, it's been good. No complaints, honestly. How are you doing today, my brother?
I'm doing great. My Steelers won, overtime by 23-20, but it's all good. It's still a win. A win is a win,
Hell yeah. I
no
don't I
matter
don't
how
play
big or small.
tonight. I got Tampa tonight, so I don't know. But
Hey,
Mitchell Trubisky looked pretty good today, and that
he
defense
was.
looked
He
pretty good.
was. He was looking really good. Hey, it just, I remember we were on the Unscripted, which is Jay's sports podcast, and we was doing our predictions of how we think our teams were going to fare in the season, and I feel like mine was starting to be kind of spot on. Like, yeah, I was under there, Mitch was gonna do his thing. He's gonna go out and do his thing. It's still a rebuilding year, so they actually outshine what it is that I expected. But I still expected him to put up some type of fight. But speaking of sports world, how are things going over at Unscripted?
Hey, everything's going good, man. Honestly, we're doing a competition now on the show where each week, you pick a winner, and it's single elimination. And if the team you pick doesn't win, then you're eliminated from the rest of the season. So far, I picked Miami today, so I made it through today, and we'll see what next week brings. But there was a couple of guys that they just didn't hit the bubble. I think one guy picked the Niners over the Bears, and of course, you know how that turned out. And then another guy picked Panthers over the Browns. You know how that turned out. And then another guy picked Saints over the Falcons, and of course, we know how that turned out. So there was some ups and some downs and lefts and rights, man. But Miami pulled it out for me. So congratulations, Tua. If you know anything about Tua, there's a lot of speculation that people thought he was going to be a bust. But he came out and played better than Mac Jones did, and they got the win subsequently. It was amazing.
Hey, your stats speak for themselves. Let's just put it that way. Yeah. That's all you can say is your stats speak for themselves. But yes, we is a big weekend in sports. NFL started back up. Was it Thursday night football on September 8th, and then we've had the Sunday lineup today. So we're still getting and like let's get back to the conversation where it left off last week. Jay, I'm gonna hit you with a hard one this morning or this evening. I'm gonna hit you with a hard one. You ready for it?
Oh yeah, I'm always ready. The wife keeps
always me ready. All right, Jay. We got a little bit of a background behind how you were raised and with your father, and how he was God-fearing, strict, and loving, and all of that good stuff. With that being said, how prepared were you when you first became a parent?
Oh, I was not prepared at all. And I say that for different reasons, not from lack of him, because my situation is a little bit different. So that's why, what he taught me growing up, and then what I actually had to face was a completely different scenario. Before we get into that, though, I do want to say, that I tip my hat, and I am remembering all those who gave their lives, at the Trade Center. This is obviously 9/11, and I know those families are having a hard time because I'm sure a lot of them lost their parents and siblings and whatnot. So, again, we are remembering you. You are not forgotten. And I just want to let you know that thoughts and prayers are going out to the survivors and the loved ones who did not make it. Okay, so with that being said,
I was going to get to that.
Oh, I'm sorry, man. Hey.
Oh, man, you're fine. It's all good. Hey, better. Hey, you did it better than I would have, because I was just gonna wait to the end of the show and just like shout it out. But
yeah, I know, man. Sometimes when God puts it in your heart, man, you just gotta let it out.
Hey,
And
honestly, honestly.
so I just got out of church today, and obviously, that was a big thing was remembering 911 and the victims and things of that nature. So anyway, God laid it on my heart, and I guess I just had to let it out.
Hey,
But
when
going
God
back
speaks, you gotta listen.
oh yeah, hey, but going back to your question though, and what I was trying to say is, typically, when you get, when you get married, you have your kids and the traditional sense of family and things like that. Yeah, my dad kind of, he gave me enough life lessons that I could navigate that road if it would have happened like that pretty easily. But it didn't happen like that for me. I actually married into a family. My wife, her husband passed away from ALS that he had gotten, or he actually picked up some kind of chemical when he was in Iraq. And I guess it triggered ALS within him. And so he, obviously came home and then had passed away from that. So I married into that family. I met her about maybe 2 years, but about a year and a half, 2 years after his passing. And so I came into a family dynamic that had one kid that was gay and had just getting ready to graduate college. I had another son that had just started college or had just graduated. I actually got it right at his graduation day. It was weird. So I got him right when he graduated. And then the third one, I got her when she had just entered into junior high. And to give you a little background, she was adopted as well into the family. And she was born from an addicted mother who was addicted to meth. So and Melanie actually had adopted her, I think, at like 6 months of age. And, and then that process went. So, I had one challenge of how do I navigate a stepson who is homosexual. And then I navigate, a stepdaughter who was born addicted to meth and has a lot of behavioral issues of her own. And the weird thing about it is her personality was a lot like mine growing up, so that we are a lot alike. And my mom always said, boy, I tell you what, I hope you get a child that's just like you so you can know what we went through. Well, Mom, congratulations. And so, yeah, she literally got, or I literally got the female version of me that had, meth addiction problems. So it was a really weird dynamic. I had no idea how to do this. I really should have listened. And I would tell anybody who goes into a family dynamic or marries into a family dynamic, whether it be the man or the woman, go in there being a best friend or a mentor. Do not go in there trying to be their parent, because that's the worst thing you could do. And a friend of mine actually told me that. He goes, Jay, and this is right when we first got married. He's like, don't try to be her parent. Don't try to be their parent. Just be a man. And I guess if I would have listened to him, it would have been a lot easier for me, I think, but I did not. I tried to go in there be a parent. I tried to, give all the lessons that my dad gave me. But the problem is, my dad didn't prepare me on how to deal with a child who had meth addictive type issues. He didn't prepare me on how to accept and how to love a kid that was gay. Because, we were always brought up that, homosexuality is a sin. Well, how do I navigate homosexuality when it goes against everything that I believe in?
Right.
It still is hard, even to this day, but I'm learning, I'm growing, I'm learning how to navigate that. But I think the biggest thing I did not learn from my father was how to navigate those types of pitfalls. And I really wish I would have listened to my friend more and not tried to be a parent, because when I tried to be a parent, it put a really big wedge into there, because I think that Dulce was still grieving her father. And now she's got this other man coming into her life and trying to be a father. And she just was not at all receptive to that. The other two were fine. The boys were okay. We were all good. But with Dulce, it was just hell on wheels, man. And I really wish I would have listened to my friend and then just taken the friendship route with her or the mentor route rather than a parent route.
And I can attest to that, because I married into my family dynamic. If a lot of you don't know, I came in with a daughter, and I married into 2 sons, and that within itself is a difficult thing to marry into or to join into as far as a family dynamic. But then and my kids were 3 and newborn when me and their mom got married. You know, the
Right.
the youngest one was like 2-3 weeks old, and then the oldest one was 3. But to even think about your kids were older, like
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
that's even more difficult to think of, because when you're coming in at 3 and newborn, like it's kind of different. There's not necessarily be the friend mentality to it, because they need that guidance, they need that father, they need that parenthood. But when you've got kids who have already had a father, who have already been through being raised by a father, and you're coming in as a blessed extra father, that's more difficult. So I can understand the whole mentor, not necessarily friend thing, because that'll get you in trouble too, but the whole mentor aspect of it, in terms of, like, not necessarily trying to raise them, but being there to answer any questions that they may have, you know. So
Yeah, I definitely agree, because I think it's a lot easier if you get them young enough to where they don't really know much about life experience or anything like that, or form behavioral patterns or anything else. So you can kind of make your mark, you can kind of guide into that. But man, you try to get a woman who's 12, no sir, because her father, God rest his soul, but her father was a very it's not that he's absentee, but he was a truck driver, you know what I'm saying,
mm-hmm.
by trade. So he was gone a lot. So when he would come, into town after doing loads or whatever, he did not want to do disciplining. He wanted to basically just have, the fun time with them.
Right.
And it really kind of set Dulce back, because, Mel's trying to do one thing and teach her, and then the dad comes in and doesn't necessarily reinforce it. And so he's kind of do one thing. So you got two parents trying to do two different things, and it
Yeah.
really kind of, and so Dulce's like, how am I going to go from this one father, who basically, lets me do whatever I want and doesn't hold me to any kind of real consequence. And then you got this other guy coming in trying to be a parent, and then he's got, standards and rules and things and stuff like that. Oh, hell no. And then I'm 12 years old. Oh, hell no. I ain't doing that. And that's kind of, I think if I would have been, just more of a mentor, like, hey, if you need advice, I'm here, whatever. I think that type of situation would have gone much better, because you can't have one parent that, was in her life, the influential one, doing it one way, and then you come and try to do it another way. She's already grieving and pissed off that the other father left. I mean, so that's why I think, like you said, man, it's just better to take the mentor route. I think it makes for an easier transition.
Right. And even with that, like, you got the whole, and 12 is like that prime age, because mostly around that age is when females start their periods, and they're 12 going on 21, and it's like, I've been there, done that. I know what I'm doing. And when they actually haven't been anywhere and haven't done anything and have no clue what they're doing. So it's like, man, but I was not prepared at all to be a father. I became a father at the age of 19. My daughter was born on May 6th, 2013, and I was 19 years old.
Yeah. Wow.
I personally took the wrong route, because my main thing was, as long as she doesn't want for anything, she'll be okay. And when I say want for anything, I'm thinking monetarily want. As long as she doesn't go hungry, as long as she's got clothes on her back, as long as she's got a roof over her head, as long as I can basically pay my daughter off, she'll be fine. And that was the wrong mentality to go into. And with that mentality, and I had that mentality for 8 years of her life. So it's she's 9 now, so that tells you, like, I just got over that mentality. But when you come in with that type of mentality, it's like, that's where you're there, but you're not actually present moments come in. So I was at her first birthday party. I was probably drunk when I was there, and I wasn't really fully there. I wasn't fully present. I was at her second birthday party. I was at her third birthday party, I believe. And when I left in 2018 to join the military. I left a week before, like 2 weeks. I left 2 weeks before her fourth birthday. And from there, I missed fourth because I was in basic, missed fifth because I was in South Korea, and then made it to sixth, seventh, and eighth, I believe, something like that, because I wanted to make sure that I could be there for her birthday parties. But in our reality, I just wanted to stay relevant in her life, and it was more so about me staying relevant and her knowing, hey, I am your father, like I'm here, like, but not actually taking the responsibility of actually trying to be a father figure, if you get what I'm saying. So I know when I went to her eighth birthday party, I believe it was, I went and I thought I was like, let's just say I went broke trying to impress an 8-year-old that came from me. Like, I went broke. Like, I went and we rented out the skating rink. We were there. I bought the cake. I furnished all the food, the drinks. I took her out to eat the next day. Like, literally just was. I want to say that birthday, I personally may have spent close to $900 to $1,000, not $900 to $1,000, just on her birthday, just because I was thinking of, if I make sure she doesn't want for anything, then she'll still love me. And that is the worst mindset to have when trying to raise kids or trying to be an actual father figure. And it sucks to this day that I missed out on so much, because when I brought her up here for the summer, I learned so much about my daughter that I should have known. But because I was more so trying to be Daddy Warbucks instead of an actual dad, I missed out on so much.
Yeah, I don't disagree with what you're saying, but at the same time, don't be too hard on yourself. Either you're 19 and you're doing what you think is best, and at best or worst case scenario, you were, at least you were. Hey, number one, you were present. Okay, you were there. That still means a lot when you're there, right? I mean,
yeah.
The things like, you at the time, like Dr. Phil always says it, you do with what you know.
Right.
At the time, you do with what you know until you get better. And here's the beautiful thing about it is she's only 9. You got about 9 more years before she hits 18 to just stack full of lessons.
Right.
Life lessons, whatever. I mean, you got plenty of time to, mold her into the woman that, you want her to be, or, the type of woman you would like for her to be. You got a lot of time, brother. The only thing that would have been worse is if you went 9 years in one day and didn't figure it out.
Right.
So, there's a lot of room there. There's a lot of room for growing, a lot of room for financial lessons and, boys. And I mean, she didn't even hit puberty yet. So you got a lot of time to work on that. So
right.
Hey, like I said, you do with what you know. And, at the time, I get that, because you're like, okay, I got kids. I want them to know that they feel secure, they feel safe, they have the things that they need, and that's not a bad way of thinking. But at the same time, like you said, that's only part of that parental. The other half of that equation is, like now, is the developmental side, the emotional side, and all the other sides that you have to nurture and cultivate, so that, when she gets out in the world, she's not going to get taken advantage of by, what she thinks love looks like and what love really is, all those kinds of things, right? All those kinds of pitfalls that a young woman can go down. And a guy can go down those same types of pitfalls, hanging around with the wrong group of guys, because he doesn't know what good friends look like. He only wants to hang out with the ones he thinks with, so right. All those examples, whether it be good or a boy or a girl, I mean, you got plenty enough time to really mold it and get into her what you want her to have. She's still pliable. Her mind is still growing, and you have a good female in the house that can, you know, be a good role model for those types of things. So lots of time, brother.
Yeah, and then you know, it is a terrible joke, but I got 4 chances to get it right. I got the oldest, and then I got the 2 boys, and then I got the one that's cooking right now. It's a terrible joke, but you know, and my wife always tells me there's always a little bit of seriousness in every joke, and in reality, it's true. I have 4 chances to get it right, so I can do my best. I can do the best that I can with the first one, learn from those mistakes, move it down to the next one, learn from those mistakes, and just continue to keep getting better, and keep getting better.
Yeah.
Now, because the thing is, I'll never be perfect. No man or woman is ever going to be perfect when it comes to those things. But progression is what it is. It's learning from those mistakes. It's learning from, well, maybe I should have went this way with it. I should have taught her this financial lesson, or I should have taught her what taxes were, and how when she goes to work, she's not going to get the entire wage of what is that the job is saying. The job says she's making $15 an hour. She works 2 hours. She's not about to get $30. You know, maybe I should teach this to the next one so that he understands. Well, yeah, I know that I'm working for $15 an hour and I'm working 2 hours. My check's only going to be $25 because, you know, $2 is going to state, $2 going to federal, and then $1 is going to whatever Social Security wants to take out it, whatever, you know. But then just continue to keep progressing as I go along, and continue to keep teaching, and always remember that it's a constant progression. It's never going to be perfect. What makes it perfect is you beginning to understand that you're learning from the lessons that you're learning from the mistakes that you've made, or you're learning you're learning from the information that you weren't able to give to the older ones.
And that's what we talked. You know, we talked about a little bit like that last time that we talked. You know, of course, there's no perfection. That just doesn't exist, and we're not God. That's the only thing that I know that's perfect. But what we can do as parents, and what I believe we can do as parents, is just give them a strong baseline, like I said to you earlier, to refer back to what right looks like. So, for example, when your daughter gets old enough to start dating men, you know, she knows what a good man looks like because she had her father. So when her father sets the example of what a man looks like, and that example is set through how you treat your wife, how you talk to your wife, how you know, all the things that she sees you do for your wife, she absorbs that, and she sees that, and she's like, okay, I know what I want. I know what a good man looks like. I know the qualities and the traits that my father had that I want to get as close to in my partner, you know, in that. So she knows what right looks like in men, and she knows what wrong looks like in men. And that's what you have to do as a father. Your idea of a father is to prepare your son or your daughter for what lies ahead of them outside of your household, so that when they get out there, they can stand on their own 2 feet. They got a baseline to operate off of, because they're not going to be fully grown. I mean, they're going to be learning things throughout. But like I said, if you had that standard baseline to operate from, whether it be your work habits, you know, your hygiene habits, your, you know, what I'm looking for in a partner habits, your morals, your compasses, you know, as long as they have that the financial input you give them, how to manage a bank account, things like that. When you get out there, they're still going to screw up. But when they do screw up, they will have something to look back on to know what right looks like. And like, okay, that's where I should have gone. And then they can navigate from that. Bad situations are nothing more than life experiences.
Right.
The more experience you have to draw off of, the better you are.
Absolutely.
But that experience, it starts at home with the baseline that you give your kids to operate from. That's where it starts. Everything else just, you know, develops off of that baseline.
Absolutely. And even going with that, it takes me back to one of the two things that I do remember my father telling me, and one of them, and I'll talk more about that later, is it's better to have it and not need it, and to need it and not have it,
Oh,
than to need
absolutely.
it and not have it. But what really speaks to me as far as what we're talking about at the moment, that he taught me, or that he said to me, was, I can't remember what it is that we were doing. We were walking, talking about something, and I told him that I wanted to be like him when I grew up. And he stopped me, he looked at me, and he said, "Don't be like me, be better than me." So that,
Yeah.
and honestly, when it comes to fatherhood, when I think of fatherhood, I'm thinking, what can I do to show my kids how to be better than I was? What mistakes did I make that I can save them from by teaching them my life experience, or the lesson that I learned from it, in order for them to be better than me and not be just like me. One thing that
Absolutely. Absolutely.
one thing that I'm definitely going to uh try and instill in my sons are the respect for women, because sexual sexual promiscuity is not being respectful. That is a big issue that I had. And before I met my wife, I was, as the kids say now, for the streets. I was definitely out here for the streets, but that's not what I want for my kids. I want my kids to know that their bodies are a temple. I want my kids to understand that a woman's body is a temple, and the connection and the soul tie, because there's something, Pastor Mike Todd, I've been watching Transformation Church Relationship Goals.
Yeah.
Something that he talks about is, everybody that you lay with is a different soul tie, and having so many soul ties hinders you from getting to where it is that you need to be, or where it is that God wants you to be. And
Right.
so when I'm going to make sure I try to instill, and not only my sons, my daughter as well, is try to instill in them that not everybody's out here for you. People are out here for themselves. And there are people that God put in your life for a reason, and there are people that God put in your life for a season. Sometimes people get those things mixed up. Sometimes those seasonal people get put in reasonable roles,
Right.
if you get what I'm saying. So with that being said, you out here expecting to be with this person for a reason. This is your end all to be all person, and they're supposed to be just a seasonal person. And then you you tie your soul to them, and then every step that you take, every situation you find yourself in, you have this different soul tie that you have linked yourself to. And then you start to hinder yourself, and you hinder those blessings that God has for you. And that, with that being said, like those mistakes that I made for years are the reason why some of the blessings that I've missed they're the reason for some of the blessings that I missed. Don't get me wrong, the blessings that I have are blessings nonetheless. I thank God for them, but I could have been doing so much, and I could have gotten so much more had I actually saved myself from all those soul ties that were holding me back.
Yeah. Yeah, I can understand that. I can understand that. Absolutely. Let me ask you this. And when it comes to parenting, this is one thing else I learned. Like I said, I grew up in a very, by the Bible type household, to the point where the one thing my dad did not teach me, or at least even talk to me about, and I know my mom did not do it for my sister either, but one thing they did not do was teach me about sex, teach me about, you know, just all the things that goes with that, right? I mean, they
Mm-hmm.
didn't have that conversation. I know my mom did not have it with my sister, and my sister, unfortunately, she wound up getting pregnant in her senior year,
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, she wound up having a miscarriage. She actually wound up talking to Dane, which was her boyfriend at the time in high school, and she asked basically if he's gonna leave. He said, "No, of course I'm staying with you." They and again, she went through college, she graduated. She has a diploma, she has a degree. She went on to bigger and better things. Teaching what. So I mean, her life, had a little bit of a rough turn at high school, but through good parenting, because my mom was there, my dad was there, through good support systems, she was able to right the ship and still carry on and be a productive person. But I will tell you this, and this is where I kind of say a lot of times I think parents are either are so blinded by they think that if you have these conversations or if you preach safe sex to your children, that's going against the Bible, it's preaching sin, it's preaching that. But I have learned through my sister's experience and the way I was brought up and the way I see the world going in the direction in which it's going in. And if you look at these schools and stuff, you're going to see a lot of teenagers getting pregnant these days. It just happened. We're whether we want to believe it or not, we're in a time of the world where, it's happening. I mean, it just is. It's in their faces everywhere you look. I mean, it just is. I mean, you can turn on the natural TV and see sexually seductive stuff all the time, even on regular ABC national TV, whatever. So my thing is this. I've always believed this. Knowledge is power. Information is power. And when you don't give your kids the information, however sensitive it may be, if you don't arm your kids with the information, they're going to go out and make those mistakes. Because like I said, you don't think that they have, when they get to 16, 17, 16, maybe 15, 16, they first get their driver's license. Now they're out there driving. You trust them. You hope that you have instilled into them that abstinence is priority. But if you're going to make a decision when you're not in my presence to do something, at least for the love of God, be on birth control, have condoms, do whatever it is you need to do to protect yourself from disease and pregnancy. And a lot of people don't want to preach that. A lot of parents don't want to have that conversation with their children. And let me tell you something. That conversation ain't just for the women. It's for the boys too, because the boys are out. They need to be, safe sex, disease. You need to have that conversation all across the board. I'm telling you, because I will tell you, when my wife took Dulce in, about 15 years old she took her to the gynecologist. The gynecologist, gave her the examination. And the first thing my wife said to the gynecologist with Dulce in the room was, I want you to put Dulce in the birth control pill, because it also, believe it or not, birth control pill serves two purposes. Number one, it makes the period process easier for the women. But number two, it also prevents pregnancy. And she had the doctor basically talk about the reasonings behind birth control and the reasonings behind having the male wear a condom from a disease standpoint and a pregnancy standpoint. And I'm going to tell you right now, my wife goes, make sure you give her condoms before she leaves, because she's probably more apt to take a condom from you than she would be from me.
Right.
And so the wife left the room. The gynecologist, broke everything down medically, physically, the body, diseases, the whole nine for Dulce. And then gave her, she took them. Now, here's the deal. What I'm saying is this. I'm not out here promoting, sex or to go out and be promiscuous. That's not what this is about. What this is about is arming them with information so that if they go out and make a wrong decision, at least they're prepared, that the consequences aren't going to be severe as it would be if you did not give them that information. So that's just my little spiel on that. I wish my dad would have broke it down better for me and better for my sister. That's probably one of the biggest things, because again, that baseline is abstinence. You preach to abstinence. You want them to be abstinence. That is the basis. But if they're going to make a mistake, and they're human beings, we talked about that. Nobody's perfect. And if they're going to make that wrong decision or try to make that grown-up decision, at least have them equipped with information and the tools to where it's not going to affect their life after that mistake or after that whatever, right?
Absolutely. And I mean, one thing that I've learned, and you see it on TV, you see it on, and I've learned it from a few of my peers and elders alike, is if you're not teaching your kids about safe sex, if you're not teaching your kids what sex even is, they're learning it from their friends.
Oh, absolutely.
They
Or
know,
the internet.
or the internet, and they know 10 times more than what it is you think they know, because and they know 10 times less of what they think they know because of what they heard from their friends. Because in all honesty, 16-year-old Jimmy has no clue what any of this means. He's just saying, he's just learning, he learned from what his older brother, 18-year-old Johnny, told him. So he tells my kids, and then Johnny, Jimmy, and my kids are all screwed up because they have no clue, because they didn't actually hear it from a parent who's actually been there, done that, already knows what it means, already knows what it is, already know what's going on. So I definitely will have those conversations with my kids when the time is right. When the time is right is when I'm not going to say when they start to ask questions about it, but all kids have questions. All kids are going to have questions. When you feel as if they are more susceptible to putting themselves in that type of situation, I feel like that's the best time to actually give them that information.
Oh yeah,
When
I would
when
say probably as soon as they get that first period, I'm having that conversation, because that's when, even though they may not be ready mentally, their body's
Mhm,
ready. Their body's ready
mhm,
for it. So that's when the consequences start. So I agree with you, man. You got to know when the right age, because you don't want to get information too early, because then
right.
it's hard for them to understand. But when that body's ready to start reproducing, I think you got to have that conversation. And I'll tell you right now, I bribed my daughter. I'll tell you right now, I gave her mom gave her all the tools. Her mom gave her all the information. But I said, look, you know that truck I got you that takes you back and forth to school that you like to go see your friends with? I said, well, if you don't listen to what your mama says, you make bad decisions. I said, I'm going to have to sell that truck to support that baby. So if you like that truck, I highly suggest, I highly
Hey,
suggest,
you got to let them know. Hey,
hey,
they need to know it
hey,
costs
you
money
know
to
what I'm
have
saying?
babies.
Hey, because daddy ain't paying for that baby. But if I gotta sell that truck, well, hey, you're
Hey,
gonna lose with
it's
the
going
privilege.
the baby gonna get paid for one way or
Oh
another. Either
yeah,
you're
it's
gonna
gonna
be
get
out
paid
here
for.
working, either you're gonna be out here working, or you're gonna have to sell some of your stuff.
Hey,
Simple as that.
it's what it is, right? But that's what I try to do. I try to put it in perspective. Like, you give her the information, you give her the tools, but then you give her that little bit of incentive. Like, okay, if I want to be able to do what I'm doing, I've got to obey the parents, number one. And if I'm gonna make a bad decision, I better be remembering what the doctor told me and what the doctor gave me, because I sure as hell don't want to lose this truck. And
Absolutely.
that's how kids think. They think materialistically, unfortunately. So that's just kind of my bribe behind the information. I don't know if it's right or wrong, but that it seems to be working so far. So I'm gonna stay with
And
it.
and honestly, and that's the beauty of it. There is no right or wrong. There's really no right or wrong. It works. Now, don't get me wrong. There are certain things that if you try to use it as a if you try to use it as an ultimatum or whatever it is, those negative things kind of turn you into that's where the what's the word I'm looking for, defiance comes in, that
Yeah,
spirit of
because
defiance, because it's
yeah,
like they really don't want me to do this because and then there's another thing, that just popped in my head. Anytime you just tell a kid, hey, don't do that, that automatic thought of, well, why can't I do that? There must be something good that comes from that if I can't do that. If they're telling me not to do that, let me go figure out what it is that I can't do and why I can't do it, and see if it's something that A, hurts me, which is why I can't do it and I shouldn't do it, or two, actually feels good. And when they start to use that mindset, they start to think like that, and it's like, oh, this actually feels good. I wonder why they telling me not to do it. And then that's where the lying comes in, because mom and dad told me not to do it, but I did it
right.
anyway, and now it feels amazing, and I'm just having so much fun. And it's like, and then it's like, well, I'm just gonna keep doing it. I'm just not gonna say anything. I'm just gonna keep it from him, you know. Um, and then that's where the that's where most of the lying comes from, and that's where the relationships start to break, between parent and kid, because it's like parents, they just don't understand what it is. They don't understand what's going on. They don't understand the times. Yet we do understand. Y'all just not listening to us, or whatever, twisted type of thinking there is that's been put in your head because of media and because of your friends and because of this and because of that. And then you start to find yourself in those troublesome situations where you need your parents, you need to run back to mommy and daddy. And it's like, then it's more so of a not necessarily a mom and dad and child love thing. It's more so of a child needing mommy and daddy, and it's like now they're feeling as if they are stuck in a way. They're stuck in a sense because mom and daddy helped me out. Now I have to be here. Now I have to do what they say, because if I don't, they're going to stop helping me.
Right. So this Facebook user says, you got to learn your kids. You might not be able to do the same thing with all of the, it says something about, so she's talking about learn your kids so you know what works for them. And I agree with that. You've got to spend time with your kids. You got to learn their person. But at the same time, that's where information. All you can do, in my opinion, is arm your kid with information. But that kid may still go left on you, and that's just where life experience comes in to pick up or reinforce what you tried to tell them in the beginning, right? So again, it goes back to that baseline. I mean, all you can do is arm them with knowledge, and learn your kids. But I'll tell you, Dulce, and this kind of goes where the whole punishment thing comes into play. Me and the wife were talking about that just the other day. There are some children I believe that belt works for. There are some children I believe timeout works for. There are some children I believe, life experience is just the only thing that works for it. Because I'll give you an example. With Dulce, and again, I should have taken the opposite route on this. I should have not, but I did. Dulce, like I said, she has a very aggressive personality. In other words, when she gets told the word no, she has a propensity that she does not know how to manage her anger, and she will lash out at you physically. And when I say physically, I'm saying she will punch you, grab you, push you, do whatever. So, I gave her the belt because she had pushed her mom, and I thought that would do the trick. I told you I did it just like my dad. I sat her down, I explained it to her, told her I loved her, told her how she can avoid getting the belt next time, things like that. And then I spanked her, then I told her I loved her, and I said on about her way. But you know what? It didn't work. She still kept being defiant. She still kept doing it. And I told her, I said, Dulce, if you don't start learning to follow the rules of society, I said, you're going to wind up not being able to hold down the job, and you're probably going to wind up, with the homeless people or in some other kind of situation. So what I did to reinforce that, instead of giving her the belt the next time, I took her down to the Salvation Army. I took her down to the Salvation. I can't remember if it was the Salvation Army or Goodwill. It was Salvation Army I took her to, in the middle of Savannah. And if you know anything about the middle of Savannah, that's where all pretty much, the homeless people go to. So I took her to a homeless shelter, and I made her serve morning on the weekends, not during the weekdays, but on the weekends, on Saturdays and Sundays. She served breakfast, she served lunch, and she served dinner. And I said, look, if you're not careful, you could wind up here. This could be you. And every morning you have to get up, clear out your things, exit the facility, and then get back in line, hoping that you can get another room for the next night, or you're going to be sleeping on the streets.
Right.
And again, that did not work for Dulce. So I tried other probationary programs. I mean, I tried literally every program that you could think of. I put her in, to include taking her down to the psychiatric hospital, because I felt like mentally she just was not able to cope with her anger. And they obviously couldn't keep her because she had not done anything severe enough, which is basically she had not committed a felony, to put her in there. But she was not far off. She was hitting me driving down the road. She was hitting other kids. I mean, she was out of control. What I'm saying is, your hope and your prayer is that, some form of punishment will work. But I'm just saying there are children out there that in my opinion, is that the only thing that's going to teach them, and even that sometimes doesn't teach them, is just life experiences. Like, you got to go through it, experience it, and hopefully you refer back to the baseline that you were taught, and you can right your ship off that experience. But again, there's no right or wrong punishment, I believe. I think, like the user said before, you have to find what works for your child. And I will tell you this, you may go through every damn punishment there is in this world and still not find that right one. It just may take life. And then sometimes even life isn't enough. And I could take you down to the streets of Savannah where life wasn't enough. And they preferred not, living by the rules. They prefer living in whatever, they want to live. And it just, it comes down to that. And sometimes you have to be able to just, as a parent, you got to say, you know what, I did everything I could. And, it just is what it is. And you pray for them and you pray for their safety, but you have to learn to cut that rope and just be like, okay, I've done all that I can do.
Absolutely. And just so you all do know, this Facebook user, for some reason, my wife has not made it to where StreamYard can see her name and her picture or whatever. So she just don't want to. She want to hide behind the shadows and everything. But yeah,
well, tell her, hello, how you doing? It's good to meet you.
Yeah, but you're absolutely right. Sometimes it just doesn't work. A lot of times, she said yes, I have 3 times. I don't know what's going on with them, babe. I'm sorry, but yeah, sometimes life is the only thing that, and those are the type of people that those are the type of people who a lot of times they just need to see what the consequence is, whether or not it's a good consequence, whether or not it's a reward. It's like those are the people who you tell them, hey, don't go around the corner, there's a hole around the corner, and if you go, you're gonna fall in, you're gonna break something. And it's like they go around the corner and they fall in and they break their leg. And then they learn, oh, well, maybe I shouldn't go around this corner, because if I go around this corner, I'm going to fall in, I'm going to break something. And some people are literally just like that. They don't trust, they don't believe in what it is someone else is telling them because they haven't experienced it for themselves. Right. I'm going to be honest. I was one of those people.
Yeah.
A lot of times I used to do things. A lot of times I used to do things and it'd be like, I'm trying to, look, there go my wife. and she's saying, well, see, I said was, because I was one of them people. I'm not one of them people no more, because I like to listen now. I don't like always breaking my legs and whatnot. But anyway, I used to be one of those people because, and it all stemmed from, and normally it was men who told me things, like older men, father figure types that were telling me, hey, don't do this because this will happen. And that stemming from my father with his broken promises, giving me those trust issues. And with those trust issues, me just completely disregarding whatever any man had to say, because my own father can't tell me the truth. My own father can't be real with me. What do I need to trust and believe in what you're saying? I need to just go see this for myself. Yeah. And that was a rough, like, those were some rough lessons that I had to learn. Those are some really rough lessons that I had to learn, just based off the fact of me needing to see it for myself and not having the ability to trust or listen to anyone.
It's interesting, Leo, as I listen to you talk and how, your father, wasn't there to give you the right advice. And so basically, like I said, your baseline wasn't Your baseline wasn't there for you to be able to make those correct decisions. You, like you said, you had to create your own baseline for yourself. Mm-hmm. But I'll tell you this, there are many different forms of neglect, okay? You can have neglect of funds. You can have neglect of not, being able to give clean clothes to your kid. You can have neglect of, just all kinds of things. But there's also, the developmental neglect. And that's, to me, the developmental neglect is equal to, or could be even worse than the monetary neglect or the not having to clean clothes neglect, because if a child does not have that nurturing, morally developing compass and all that, how are they supposed to make it out there? Look, watch this. My dad can give me one meal a day, and I might not be exactly fully fed, but I'm living. My dad can put me in some dirty clothes. It's okay. Because you know what? He gave me a moral compass. And when I get out of here, I'm going to go to school. I'm going to provide my own dang clothes. I'm going to provide my own money. I'm good.
Right.
But if he does not give you the compassion, the empathy, the drive, the work ethic, the financial secure, the financial knowledge, the love, all those other things, the left, the rights, the ups and the downs. Well, how am I going to make it then? It's like, come on, give me what I need to survive. You might not be able to give me everything. I might not have the Air Jordans growing up. I might not have the GT or the Diamondback as a bicycle growing up. God, those are awesome. I always wanted one. I got the Huffy. But you know what? I'm going to tell you. I know some of those kids who got those GTs, those Diamondbacks, that they're struggling.
Right.
They're struggling. I'm not struggling. I got everything I ever wanted based on what my dad taught me. I'm going to tell you something else. Let me tell you something. I don't normally talk about this a lot because it's just not a good story for me. But I'm going to share this with you. My dad, like I said, he was great. My dad told me the left, the rights, the ups, and the downs. He also told me, about making good decisions. But I remember this. I remember I was 16 going on 17. I was ready to go in my senior year. That summer, I was working at a grocery store. There was an older gentleman that worked in the produce department. He was probably maybe middle 40s, early 50s. And he befriended me because he knew that I wanted to go in the Marine Corps. So he befriended me. He started to show me the ropes of how to be successful at boot camp, this, that, and the other. And so I got really impressioned by him. Really impressioned by him, to the point where when he found out I made it into the DEP program, which is a delayed entry program for the Marine Corps, he said, we're going to go out and celebrate. I said, I don't know, man. We're going to go out and celebrate. I said, okay. So we went out to Bennigan's, and we went to Bennigan's, and he bought me Long Island iced teas. I said, I said, I really, I should be doing this. No, I'm good. And he kept over and over and over and over to where I said, finally, okay, I'll have one. Well, I had one, and I had a third of another one. Mind you, my friend that I worked with at Safeway, his sister was the one serving me the alcohol. Mm-hmm. And the 41-year-old was the one buying me and basically pestering me to drink the alcohol.
Right.
To the point where I drove home the next day, or I drove home after that. I dropped him off. We were in my car. I should have known better. He didn't even have his own damn car. I dropped him off at his apartment or whatever. I drove back home. All right, went to bed. 4 hours later, my friend calls me and says, hey, I need a ride to work. Can you give me a lift? I said, all right, man, I got you. Because I didn't understand that, A, number one, you shouldn't be drinking and driving. Number two, alcohol affects you later on. It doesn't get you right off the get. And number three, you need to have a certain amount of hours before you can get behind the wheel. Not that I should have been behind the wheel in the first damn place.
Right.
I said, okay. So my mom had a car. Now, she only had this car 3 months. She only made 3 damn payments. She didn't even have the actual plate. She had the paper plates because it was brand spanking new. It was a 1990. The wreck happened July of 1990. She bought the car like 3 months prior, and the car was a 1990. Like I said, it was brand new. And so I took my friend to work, no problems. Dropped him off, no problems. Coming back home, there's no median, there's no nothing separating the opposite flow of traffic. It's just 2 yellow lines, and that's it. So I was coming home. I set the cruise control on because, I don't know, I set the cruise control on it. I think I set it at like 40. It was a 35. I think I set it at 40. And all I know is everything in my life went black. And then when I woke up, I was in the hospital going down a hallway with my uncle repeatedly asking my name, my address, and my social security number. And I'm like, brother, I've done told you this like 10 times. How do you not know my name? I done told you like 10. What are you already hearing? He's like, no, we're just trying to keep you awake because they knew that if I went to sleep, I had come out of a coma. And they did not want me to go. They were afraid that I would go back into the coma and that I could possibly then die because I had a fat clot that came off my leg because I broke my leg, and they shot me up with steroids in the neck in hopes that it would catch it in the neck and it would just dissolve there, because if it hit the brain, they knew it was going to be game over.
Yeah.
And I will tell you, man, listen, the way I remember it, so I fell asleep, I crossed 2 double yellow lines, and I hit 8 cars. 8. And the first one that I hit put him in the hospital with life-threatening injuries. And I'm telling you, man, I should have listened to my father. My dad always told me, be careful the company in which you keep. My dad had no idea that I was hanging out with this guy after work and doing this stuff. I didn't tell him that. So he had no idea. Because my dad, like I told you, back in the day, my dad worked 4 days on, 4 days off. And, so my mom was kind of pretty much raising me for the most part. My dad would give me the nuggets of knowledge and the discipline. But my mom, for the most part, was my primary parent. Mm-hmm. And I wish I would have listened to my father because, again, I let somebody influence me into something that I knew I shouldn't have been doing. My baseline was telling me I shouldn't be doing it. But again, everybody is fallible and everybody makes mistakes. And life experience is the best experience. Unfortunately, it was tragic. But at the same time, I no longer drink and drive. And I never have drank and drive ever since that day. I've never done that. Right. But I preach against it all the time. But, sometimes it's hard to tell a kid things when there's another adult in their ear talking to them. And that's why I'm saying you have to really, like that one lady said earlier, you have to know your kids. You have to know what they're doing, how they're doing, whatever. So that hopefully, number one, you can try to prevent it. But you have to give your son that baseline so he knows right from wrong. And you hope that you telling him right from wrong would, you're hoping that he will listen. That's the idea. Now, will it always happen? Probably not. But hopefully, there'll be that one kid, that one son that will listen and not make that sort of decision. Because I will tell you, it was the worst thing in my life. I will tell you, my parents never yelled at me. My dad never raised his voice. But I did get a strong talking to, and I did have to do a lot of community. There were a lot of parameters that I had to go through. But they rebuilt me. My dad rebuilt me. My mom rebuilt me. And now I have a really good, strong foundation to pass on to the kids that I'm talking to. And I preach that to them quite prevalently. And I'm hoping that they listen to me. I think Dulce's listening. The boys, they're always pretty good. But I'm hoping really that Dulce listens and takes heed of that because now she's a new driver. But, yeah, man. The point that is, you can have 2 parents in a household giving you the best. You can have 1 parent in a household giving you the best. But at the end of the day, whether you have 2 or you have 1, it's up to that kid. Either he's going to listen to the parent or he's not going to listen to the parent. And all you can do is hope that they listen. That's all you can do.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And with that being said, like, there's so many things that my mom has taught me. There's so many things that my grandmother has taught me. There's so many things that my aunt has taught me that my dad wasn't able to teach me that had I just listened, I wouldn't be in some of the situations. I wouldn't have been in some of the situations that I put myself in, nor would I be the man that I am today. Because had I not taken heed to what it is that they are saying, or had I actually taken heed to what they were saying, I wouldn't have put myself in those situations. But then when I did end up finally putting myself in those situations, regardless of what they were telling me, I still had that in the background. I still had that in the back of my head, that Jiminy Cricket voice basically saying, hey, this is not what you need to be doing. This is not where you need to be. This is not what you need to be doing right now. And that actually helped me out of those situations.
Absolutely. And I think too, if you raise everything always starts off with the oldest child, right? I mean, however you raise that oldest child, because I firmly believe that children, brothers and sisters talking to each other is a lot stronger influence even than when we're talking to them, because they are more apt to listen to their sisters or brothers than they are to the parents sometimes, right? And so if you're teaching the first child right, hopefully, that will trickle down, into the children as you're also talking to the children. Hopefully you can hit it from both sides, right? Because you're raising your family in one direction. So hopefully the kids will be supporting each other and loving each other and doing that with you. Because I think if you can combine those forces, you're more likely to be successful. I will tell you this. My sister was there and she was Johnny on the spot. She watched everything Jay did. And she did the exact opposite. She listened to the parents. She did the right things. And, so she had a really easy go of it. And, of course, I always talk to my sister, too. And I told her about my life lessons. So, hey, I screwed up here. Don't do this. No. And so that can also be another reinforcement tool is your older siblings or your older children, passing down what they learned from you to them. And that might have a really good influence as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And with that, I know we only got through one question, but hey, it was still some great conversation, and we still have so much more show left to go. So many more shows left to go. Jay, thank you for coming in once again. It's always a pleasure having you here. It's always a blessing to have that wealth of knowledge. In case you didn't know, the age difference between Jay and I is about 20-ish years, if I'm not mistaken, maybe like 15, something like that.
I turned 50 on the 20th, brother.
21 years. I'll be 29 and I'll be 29 in October.
That's a really good bottle of scotch.
Right. Hey, but once again, this is Father Time with Mike Montez and the fan favorite, Mr. J. Mclovin. Thank you all for allowing us to enter into your homes for this hour and just give you some words of wisdom. And like I always want to point out, this is not us teaching you how to be parents. This is us telling you our stories and our life lessons, hoping that you will take some of them and implement them in your strategy in raising your children, hoping that it's something that could possibly help you. Once again, Jay spoke on it earlier. We like to let everyone know who's watching that we have not forgotten 9/11. Jay himself is a prior service member. I am serving in the military as of now. I still got about 3.5 years left on my contract. I'm in the Army. So 9/11 is definitely a big thing. Is very much so a big remembrance thing. So we like to extend our hearts out to the survivors of those who were lost in the 9/11 World Trade Center attacks and then the plane hijackings back in 21 years ago now. Golly, it's been so long. I remember I was in second grade. I was in the second grade. I had just started second grade, and one of my teachers had it playing on her TV while we were in school. Like, it's crazy to think that it's been 21 years since that's happened, and we have never forgotten, and we will never forget, because that is a staple in American history as of now. Like I said, thank you for allowing us to come into your homes for this brief amount of time to just give you a little bit of what it is that we go through as being parents and what it was that we went through with our parents growing up. We will be back again next week, hopefully Saturday, if not Sunday. I'm making sure that this will definitely be a weekly thing, because there's a lot of information out there. There's a lot of conversation left to be had. So once again, Jay, did you have anything else that you wanted to say?
Oh, no. First of all, like I said, again, keep those, in your prayers. And remember, the ones that, are at ground zero that we're taking care of and trying to get people out, as we see, more and more, it seems like a lot of them are coming down with different, cancers and things of that nature due to the dust and the chemicals and all that stuff that was in the air that they were breathing in. So, even though that death toll was at whatever number it was at, and I really can't remember, that death toll continues to rise as we lose more and more first responders that
absolutely,
contracted whatever disease they got from that experience. And so keep them in your heart. Again, Mike, man, appreciate you letting me come on. Brother, it's always a good experience talking with you. I almost feel like it's therapeutic for me. It's weird, but
same. Absolutely.
I love it, man. I love it.
Definitely a good forum for us to just have a conversation, and the conversation being therapeutic for the both of us, because we both have our own challenges that we're going through as far as raising our kids. And it has to do with something like, and it even shows that even growing up in a 2-parent home and having that strong foundation and structure, you still struggle. Like there's no struggle has no there's nobody's name on struggle. There's no signing sheet for people who struggle. Like it's not just this type of person. Everybody struggles, but
I would encourage, if you are a single parent, I would encourage you having your child spend time with a big brother or big sister. You gotta get those big brother, big sister programs.
Absolutely.
If you can get into those kinds of programs, whatever he's lacking on the male side or she's lacking on the female side, not that really the female should. Well, yeah, because if you're a man, those programs can, hopefully help, guide or fill the gap a little bit with that.
Or even if you are a single parent and you have a strong, I implore you, if you are a single parent, to build a strong community around you, because that is going to be a determining. I'm not gonna say that, because it's not a determining factor of success. But I am going to say it is so much easier when you have a village to help you raise your child. You have the different women in your village, the different men in your village that have been there and done, who have actually been there, done that, and know what's going on in this world, to be able to help you out as far as raising your child. So, and that's for single moms, single dads, because there are those out there. There are single dads out there. And I love what my wife said: parents, don't be embarrassed to ask for help, period. It's better to try and ask than to think you can do it all alone. She is absolutely right in that. There is no alone when it comes to this. You can continue to try to do it alone, and you will see how much harder it will get. If you just
one thing too, to caveat off of what she's saying, because I think this is another big problem. I think it's the society that we have, is that when the mother and the father feel like they cannot no longer be together, and they feel like they're going to go separate ways, and a lot of times the mother may hate the father for whatever reason, and vice versa. Always remember, you can have your differences, you can have your dislikes when it comes to you being towards the other parental, but when it comes to those kids, do not harbor those feelings, number one, around them, in front of them, or to them. Find a way, if you can, to co-parent in a good, positive way, because at the end of the day, you brought that child in, and you may have your differences with your spouse or ex-spouse, but don't let those differences hinder the relationship that child needs between the both of you. So
absolutely,
you can hate the other one, but just find a way to co-parent in a way that, will be beneficial and healthy to that child, because they didn't ask for you to split up, but you can certainly be the positive influence and still show them what right looks like by being really good co-parents.
Absolutely. And so she said, it's always about the best for the kids, and you're absolutely right in that, babe. But to kind of caveat off of what Jay said, no, and you have to continue to remember, the child did not ask to be here. You made the decision. There was something in you, whether it been an intoxication of substance, or an intoxication of lust, or whatever it may be, that puts you in the position to help bring that child into this world. They did not ask to be here, so you should not treat them as such. They should not be treated as if they are a chore. They are your child. They are a part of you. They are a piece of you. And one thing that my wife likes to point out to me a lot is, your kids will feed off of your energy. Your kids will feel what you feel. whatever feelings that you have towards someone else or whatever feelings you have about a situation, your kids will feel that and they will act accordingly. And and hold on one second, technical difficulties. All right, you know what? Get it. But yeah, like I said, they're always going to know. They're always going to feel what it is that you feel, and then that's in positive ways and negative ways. Like they're always going to feel the feeling that you feel because they are a part of you.
Dang, Mike. I feel like we need to do a post continuance of this next Saturday. What do you look? Oh no, I can't. Dang, come next Saturday's my birthday. Friday, Mike. Friday, part 3. Friday, part 3. Let's go.
Hey, either Friday or Sunday. I'm not going to take up Friday. Friday maybe. So Friday is a big maybe because I have to drive down to Syracuse and turn in some speakers. I'm supposed to be DJing a wedding on Thursday, but
nice.
It's either going to be Friday or Sunday. Friday or Sunday. Most certainly, we will definitely keep this conversation going.
Absolutely. Matter of fact, let's do Sunday. Mike, let's do Sunday. Do your thing Friday, hang out Saturday. Sunday, we're going to knock this out Sunday evening. Let's go.
Absolutely. But like I said, thank you for allowing us into your homes. And please definitely come back next week. Next Sunday, you've heard it. Jay Mclovin will be back. We will continue this conversation. We will just keep it going. We may have some more guests join in, but this conversation does not need to stop. This is definitely a conversation that needs to be heard. Thank you all for joining us once again. This is Father Time with Mike Montez. Until next week.